Hey guys. So welcome to week three. Plan today is to go through your kind of best off potential resources and form a task list for what you would need to do in order to migrate your course. So should be noted, this doesn't have to work. The answer to this could be I couldn't find an OER that was good enough, or a ZTC option. That happens. So far for me, that's happened for this course that I'm working on until I think recently. Like I think this will work this time, but let me go through what I found here. So I chose the method of looking at my existing Canvas module and trying to kind of match this to things in the books that I found. So the from my dive in resources, in repositories to find resources, the two books I identified as most kind of usable were this one. This is like vector spaces first. This would be a radical reorganization of my course, and this other one, which is a Selinger book, it is itself a remix of a different OER book. Um, so here's what I did. Personally, for me, the order in which I go through the topics in my course is like really kind of the paramount thing. So my first task was to kind of go through and try to remix, reorder, figure out if I could do this. You'll note from all the crossed out text here, I wasn't actually able to get this to go. This was using that kind of radically reorganized textbook, this vector spaces first book. I tried. I'm just not convinced that that would actually work. It hides something from the students until about halfway through this semester that I really think they ought to see up front. I tried to kind of think of a way to move that thing to the front. And what I found was I just couldn't make this thing make sense. I just was ending up rearranging the entire book in a way that that book is not designed to be rearranged. So what I did was I transitioned to trying to match the other book. So here's kind of the process of like broadly that I was doing. I'm looking at, like this module is about vectors. So I looked for some resources about vectors. So I identified the chapter in my new book that goes with that. I wrote it down. Great. Next, mix, match, right? This is a process I'm sure you've done before if you've adopted a different textbook, right? So in this process, I think I came up with some stuff. I have a couple of things that I'm pretty satisfied with this book largely. I have a couple things I'm going to need to supplement. I think I might grab something from that other book kind of early to push in here. I came up with a couple of things that I think I'm going to have to write. I have this thing that I might push to the end of the course, right? Like until I actually build this thing all the way, I'm not sure that these are exactly the right order, but after going through this, I'm much more confident that the vector spaces first book isn't really what I want, and that I'm going to try this Selinger book and see how it goes. Once I'm kind of like convinced that I've got a resource that might work and I've mix and matched the order, figured out what I'm going to have to supplement, that kind of thing. Now my next task is to be like, okay, so what do I need to do in Canvas to change my course over? So I'm looking at the way I've got my Canvas oriented is I've got modules that are weekly essentially. So I've got a whole bunch of videos that have reference to which problem they are out of the other textbooks. So I think I'm going to have to supply some kind of supplement that indicates to the student what those homework problems actually are. I'm going to have a few copies of this on reserve in the math lab. That's going to be kind of my strategy for dealing with the fact that I've got these kind of numbers mislabeled. I'm going to have to go through and change a whole bunch of section numbers. I need to go through and check my like tips and tricks, my words of advice, right? Make sure they reference the new book or remove them. and maybe rewrite different ones depending on kind of how this book feels. These tips and tricks are things that I actually write as I'm teaching the course a lot of the time. So these are kind of built up over a few semesters. Some of them I'll probably just start adding, right? Salinger stuff. The work is really where I'm going to have some problems. So that's my kind of other task, is to go through and look at homework. I did find in my resource dive a bunch of open source homework problems on a kind of computer graded system. So I might think about including those. That's my kind of second tier priority thing for homework. My first tier priority thing for homework is to actually select some problems. That's one area where I'm going to run into some problems, because this textbook, if I just go grab a random section and scroll to the previous, like, there aren't very many problems here. There just aren't. I wish this book had a more extensive homework set. There are just a handful, like 5-6 problems per section. This is a thing I have to fix. So for me, I have some Canvas housekeeping tasks. Those aren't so bad. There's 15 pages I have to edit. It's going to take me, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes a piece, maybe a little longer. That's kind of annoying. Dealing with the homework here is going to be much more frustrating. So I think initially, at least, I may make up some supplemental homework. I'm going to select what I can out of this book, and then I may make up kind of supplemental homework sheets. I may do that by kind of borrowing some ideas. Math problems are one of those things that are they're a little weird as far as IP goes, so I probably can get away asking some pretty similar questions and not tread on IP. I also think I'm pretty unlikely to get sued here. Like, there are classic questions that are classic for a reason, right? Like, anyway, that's one of my kind of tasks. So the other kind of task that I gave myself is I've got I've got one section that I think I need to write. I'm going to go look and see if I can find it in another OER. I couldn't find a good treatment of this in any of the resources that I had right at hand. So I had 3 books that I was looking and write it first. So I'm either going to write it or I'm going to spend some more time looking. That's fine. There's a picture on the cover of... I have a copy of this book. There's this really rad picture on the cover of Strang that I find to be really illustrative. And I focus a lot on it in my course. So I think I need to come up with my own version of that diagram that I can use to drive discussion. So personally, I think I'm going to end up remixing this book and put my version of that picture on the cover. That might have a small downside. It might be that I can get print copies of the Salinger book ordered. If I do that, I may just print this picture and have the students like replace the cover, glue it to the cover, put it in the first page or something. That might be a compromise I have to make. My expectation for you guys is that you kind of go through and do the same thought, right? So see what you can cover. You don't have to start from Canvas modules. If instead of Canvas modules, you want to start with the like table of contents of your book, that's totally fine. If you want to just start with your triage list and go from there, that's also totally fine. For me, I kind of use my triage list to sort of double check that I had everything here. You'll note that the ones that I'm talking about writing are things that were like very important on my triage list. And yeah, now I've got a list of tasks to try. I think probably I'll transition this course next spring. We'll see. I hope that you guys have similar luck with finding stuff. If you run into problems, feel free to give me a shout. Otherwise, generating a task list like this is your last deliverable. Some people like to include dates to make sure that they get kind of themselves pushed along. That's totally fine if you want to do that. Personally, I'm a like box checker rather than a date, like due date haver. Um, but you guys probably guessed that from knowing me. So yeah, like however you want to format your task list, whatever you want to base it on, that's totally fine. The important thing is that you evaluate the resources that you've located, see if they'll fit for you, generate this kind of task list. If the size of task here is too big, like if you end up having to write half of the sections, um, maybe we need to shop around some more for a resource, or maybe a resource doesn't exist and we need to do something else. Let me know if that's the case for you. We can think about class sets of existing textbooks, or maybe we'll come up with something creative. So yeah, task list. You guys got this. Thank you guys for taking the course. Much appreciated. I'm really hopeful that this will help the students and that we can get a bunch more ZTC courses launched from this. So again, thank you.